Welcome back to Success as a Real Estate Agent. Let me get into it. Here we go. Correcting defects. If a home has defects, the seller has two choices: fix them or provide equal monetary compensation to the buyers, plus an additional discount for the hassle of updating. Few buyers will pay a retail price less repair costs to correct defects. They logically will want compensation for their inconvenience. For example, if a roof needs repair or replacement, the improvement will be expected by both the bank and the buyer. The seller can offer one of the following two remedies: handle and pay for the repair or replacement. Provide the buyers with significant compensation to cover the cost, hassle, or correcting the defect themselves. Hassle compensation is money above what it costs to professionally correct the problem. The amount extended for hassle compensation differs by task and buyer. It comes in the form of a reduction in the sale price. Typically, leaders don't create an allowance for this. In most cases, if buyers have to collect and decide between contractor bids, arrange for repairs, and check the work of the contractor, they'll want some compensation for their time and effort. Other items that may need to be addressed are exclusively worn carpet or windows whose seals are broken, especially when condensation has built up between the panes. Enhancing first impressions. Any cost-effective improvement that adds curb appeal or enhances first impressions can increase the sale price. Here are a few improvements the seller can do. Create dimension on the exterior of the home by adding shutters over a garbage gavel. Select a better cool palette and certainly spend a few $100s to plant annuals to brighten the exterior walkways. The effect will increase the probability of a sale and positively influence the sale price. Inside the house, after improving the home's color scheme, also assesses the quality of the home surfaces, including carpet, tile, vinyl, and countertops. Replacing surfaces is often far less costly than buyers anticipate. A seller doesn't have to put the slab granite on the kitchen counters. Simply updating old tile and cracking our chipped formica will deliver a great improvement and payoff when it comes to price negotiation. Choosing a light surface can create the feeling of a larger, brighter room. Just remember, when replacing surfaces like floors and countertops, be sure you aren't simply replacing a dated look with a less dated look. When working with a limited budget, also most sellers do, improve surfaces in core areas first. Focus on the areas most used by buyers, which include the kitchen, family room, bathroom, especially the master bath and master bedroom. Improvements to skip. As a general rule, I advise sellers to skip any improvement that isn't simple and doesn't create value. Focus on improvements that will improve the pictures of the home, that will at least get buyers in the door. When sellers ask about replacing cabinets, remodeling rooms, building bookshelves, replacing siding, adding decks, and even finishing basements, share the following facts. According to Remodeling Magazine and the National Association of Realtors, the average major investment update on a home recoups 81% at resale, or only $4 out of $5 spent. The highest average rate of return results from a minor kitchen remodel, which yields 93% of the costs incurred. The lowest average rate of return comes from finishing a basement, which yields a 76% return. See the sidebar titled "The Myth of the Bargain in the Basement" for the more details on the risks of finishing a basement. The more money spent, the higher the risk for the seller and the lower the chance of making a return or even breaking even. The myth of the bargain in the basement. Advise sellers who want to increase home value by finishing their basements to proceed with caution for the following reasons. Any remodel returns only a portion of its cost at the time of sale. Historically, basement remodels yield the lowest return of all. Even if the home is on a slipping lot that allows for a really nice walkout or daylight basement, in many areas of the US, the value of the basement square footage is half that of ground level or above ground level square footage. Too many sellers calculate home price or value on a square foot basis, and therefore they see an unfinished basement as kind of a lotto ticket. This is especially true for fix-it and gung-ho personality types who see the unfinished basement as an easy route to a higher home price. These facts to help you sellers understand that the finished basement is likely going to return the dollars they put into the remodel, and that the resulting additional square footage will almost certainly be worth less than they envision. Passing the curb appeal test. As a listing agent, one of the first rules of real estate you need to remember is that you have to get prospective buyers and other agents into their house that is for sale. They won't buy it or advise others to buy it. If they don't step inside to see it, you won't get a showing if the home doesn't pass the online evaluation and the curb appeal test. Curb appeal is more important than ever. I believe curb appeal is more important today because so many buyers are do-it-yourself types in their home search process. This means you won't be there to give them ideas on how to improve curb appeal. As an agent, nothing is more discouraging than giving up your Saturday or your Sunday afternoon to host an open house, only to watch cars drive by all afternoon without stopping. The culprit is almost always a lack of curb appeal or first glance pizzazz. The second most common reason is that the home is in a less than desirable neighborhood. Few people have the gift to see what a home could look like. My wife, Joan, has that gift. She can look at a listing that I know isn't quite right and tell me exactly what to suggest to the seller. The following sections provide similar advice for you to follow. Landscaping your way to success. Landscaping recommendations depend largely on the age of the home you're getting ready to show. Newer homes are frequently so under-landscaped that they look remarkably like the surface of the moon. Meanwhile, older homes are surrounded by such overgrown trees and bushes that they look like the jungles of Brazil. The most frequent curb appeal obstacle comes from overgrown landscaping, which needs to be attacked with the following steps. Trim trees to create openness in the yard area. Large fir or overgreen trees can make a yard look smaller than its actual size, particularly if expensive branches hang close to the ground. Advise the seller to remove some of the limbs of the larger trees so there's a 12 to 15 foot space off the ground. Use the space open by tree trimming to plant colorful annuals, which will brighten up the yard. You should also use annuals to brighten the sidewalks and paths to and around the front door. If the seller's yard features grass, make sure it's healthy and green. Recommend that sellers put down extra seed or replace sod in trouble spots if necessary. You want to achieve a look that's more like a golf course than a motocross course. Add landscape dimension to otherwise flat lots with plants, berms, or rocks. Don't overdo it, but do add a little height and depth to break what otherwise might look like a dull lot. Create dimension through color. The landscaping can look pretty monochromatic if you're representing a home in a season other than spring. Colorful plants go a long way towards adding visual interest and strengthening curb appeal. Exterior paint condition and color. If a split second in the color and condition of a home's exterior paint can either attract or repel a prospective buyer. Paint color. Recommend that sellers think long and hard about pastel colors like robin's egg blue or baby pink, or color schemes that match the uniforms of their college teams. Just as with hard surfaces on the inside, the exterior of a home for sale should be painted in classic muted tones such as taupe or beige with a soft accent color that is slightly darker than the body of the home. The architecture of the home can contribute to the decision regarding what colors are appropriate. For example, white paint on a colonial style home can enhance the property's visual impressions from the curb, invoking images of great stately homes such as the White House of George Washington's Mount Vernon. However, the same white paint on a 1950s ranch home may result in a house that looks like a plain little box with no character. Paint conditions. Buyers are quick to cross homes in need of a new paint off their list, whether the chipped paint is on the body or trim of the home, or fences or railings. The worst outcome is when a prospective buyer drives by but doesn't stop. However, if they decide to stop and look at the house, trouble still lurks. If the exterior paint condition is poor and buyers consider the home anyway, you may wish that they hadn't, and here's why. When buyers notice that paint is peeling, cracking, chipping, or stripped down to the bare wood, they go into high scrutiny mode and begin to pick the home apart rather than looking for wonderful things about the home. They fixate on what they think is wrong. They assume that because something as obvious as the paint is in poor condition, other aspects of the home have also been neglected. A buyer determined to find faults would succeed. No home can withstand a microscopic fault-finding inspection. Even if the home passes the integral buyer examination, the sellers aren't out of the woods. If the buyer decides to make an offer, almost certainly it will be accompanied by an extensive repair list and the request that every minor offense be rectified before the closing. Then a home inspector will enter the picture, providing a more extensive report and the chance for the buyer to hit the seller up all over again. All this happens because of a little chipping paint that could and should have been fixed before buyers ever drove by to view the home in the first place. We're going to take a little break from the reading. I really appreciate you being here and liking and subscribing and watching and following. Thank you so much. Please leave me some comments. See you guys later. Bye.